Hi, I'm Lauren Selden, professor at SFA. I am going to show you the basics of sawing and piercing today. We're going to use this pattern that I got from Emily Cobb, and she got it from Joe Wood, and it's kind of passed around to a bunch of the alumni there. But I'm excited to show this just as our basic sawing demo. I have some rubber cement with me for putting that down on the metal. I also have some dead soft copper 18 gauge sheet. I haven't annealed this, so that'll make it for easier sawing because it'll be a bit harder. And I also have two different types of saw frames. I'm going to show both of these, but most of our students are going to be using this German saw frame, so I'll show both of those, and I'll also show the introduction to which saw blade you need to use for which sheet metal. So let's get started. In order to choose our blade, we need to know something about the thickness of our metal. So here I have a metal gauge plate. You'll see little slits in the edge, and then also you'll see circles here. The circles are not the gauge of the metal, it's actually the slit. And so as I kind of move along here, you can see these very small pieces. Those are metals that are in the range of 24 through 30. And as I keep going this way and the metal gets bigger and bigger, the number gets smaller. So 8 gauge is here with this thick piece of metal. And then as I go into the smaller ones, that's getting into 18 and 24, and it keeps getting smaller. So I take my piece of metal and I line it up to that slit, and when it goes in nice and tight like what you see there, that is 18 gauge. So that is going to help me to figure out what kind of blade I want to use. And we have a little cheat sheet in our studio in the boxes where the blades go, and so you can see the blade size here, and then you can see the recommendation for the thickness of metal. And so we've also kind of cheated here. It should say 1/0, 1/0 blade for 18 to 22 gauge, and then 1, 2, and 3. Those are all in this same box, so that you can get the thicker metals taken care of all out of this box. We have another box for the thinner gauge metal. So that's the first thing that you want to check. Another thing to consider if you don't have a gauge plate sitting along is that when we're looking at our blade and we have it like a Christmas tree, and if we look at the thickness of our metal, you want at least 3 blades touching the thickness of the metal, 2 to 3 blades. So this is where we're looking at our 18 gauge. So that's another way to check. And then they generally come, that chart that I showed is from the manufacturer where you buy the blades, and then it comes in groups of dozens. So this is a 1/0 blade. I have one here, and you just unwind this brass bit of wire that's holding it and pull out a blade. So in just a second, I will load my saw frame, and I'm going to be getting it in this Christmas tree look, and then turn the blade towards myself. I usually am going to stand whenever I'm loading my blade. There is an adjustment here on this German saw frame that you usually tighten once, and you're doing that based on the length of your blade, and I'll kind of show that in a second, but mine's already set and I don't need to adjust it any further. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm holding it with my the handle with my belly. I'm going to make sure that I have my Christmas tree, point it straight at myself. Sometimes it helps to put that a piece of white paper behind it so that you can see the blades really easily. I'm going to put the blade in between the frame and the black pad here and tighten. And then you see that my blade just kind of barely fits down here. That's because I need a little bit of tension now. So I'm going to push forward. Again, I'm just holding it with my left hand and pushing a little bit of weight into the corner, which is why I stand whenever I do this. And then I'm going to tighten, check, you should see that there's like a little, you should hear it, East Texas banjo sound. And then that's nice and tight. But the main thing is we don't want it to wiggle. You notice anytime that I'm touching this, I am touching from the back side of the blade because the blades are on this side. And I don't want to cut myself. So again, I have 18 gauge copper. And I'm going to glue this with rubber cement onto the copper. So I usually like to take a scrap piece of paper. I understand that I'm showing you how to glue something, but you know, there's a strategy to everything. So here we go. I usually put it on the piece of paper so that hopefully I can get all the way to those edges. And then it won't fly up whenever I'm trying to saw later. So I'm going to let that dry until it's tacky, and then I'm going to put it on my metal. So next step, I'm going to put my chair on my metal, staying as close to the edge as I can in order to just preserve a little bit of metal. Push down really well. You can do this with spray adhesive, but the spray adhesive you generally have to get off with chemical or to burn it off. And so the rubber cement works great, and then you can just kind of rub it off later. But sometimes it also releases a little bit while you saw, so just kind of whichever one you prefer. So I'm going to be I'm right-handed, and so I generally am going to leave all of the room on the left to be able to hold the piece, and I'm going to enter in the design as to the far right side. If you were going like this, it makes it really awkward and difficult to hold. So if I went around going on the opposite side, I don't really have a place for my holding hand. So just think of it as your dominant hand. You want it to be on that side of the design, and that'll be easier to hold. So I have some burr life, and I'm going to just strop the blade like that, and that's going to provide lubrication so that I can continue to saw. To get started, I'm going to go in on a little bit of an angle and then straighten out. You can see currently I'm on the outside of the bench pin. I'm also sawing to the outside of my line. There's the width of your blade, or the negative space that the blade leaves, is called the kerf. And so I want the kerf to be to the outside of my design. And you can watch my non-dominant hand move around. My non-dominant hand is doing all the work. And I'm currently off the edge of the bench pin. That's this wooden thing. And I'm just using as much of that bench pin as I can to hold the piece down. And now we're getting to a turn. So there's a lot of ways to approach this turn. I could back all the way out, like what you would do with a scroll saw. And then I could come from the outside and just kind of break that piece off. So I'll show you how to do that one first. And so that might be a nice strategy. You can hear that I'm getting close to the edge there. So that might be a nice strategy to kind of open up that space to round the corner. Now, I'm going to round the edge like that. So I have another corner to do. I'm going to hold the saw frame straight up and down. And when we're sawing, it's really important that my hand is underneath the handle, which is why I'm trying to shoot this video from this angle. My hand's underneath, and I'm not gripping the handle really hard, so I shouldn't see that my knuckles change color. I should have just a loose hold. And then my main thing is that I'm avoiding having my finger like this, because that's the easiest way to cut yourself. So sometimes I'm threading my fingers through here, and I'm using all that bench pin that I can. And once I've turned a corner, again, straight up and down and moving that material, then I'm getting my hands out of there. So you see that my plant hand is kind of in an awkward situation right now. That'll change in a second whenever I can move it. and I can get to the outside edge again with my fingers. But the non-dominant hand is the hand that's going to get the most tired whenever you're sawing. So this is a really sharp corner. I'm reminding myself to go straight up and down, and then you see that I'm turning the piece slowly until I've turned that corner all the way. If I try to turn too quickly, I'm going to break the blade. So the blade's going to break if I've gone like left or right with the frame or up or back. And no big deal if it breaks, it's going to happen. Just take the blade out, put it on your desk, and then that'll be thrown away later. And then you'll re-thread a blade again and go again. So I can tell that my metal, either I'm going through kind of a knot, or you can kind of hear it, or it's kind of time to get a little bit more burr life. So again, I can grab this, go underneath, and strop with some burr life. Make sure that you're wearing safety glasses. Normally, I would get my body nice and comfortable underneath the sawing, and I would make sure that I'm right over the piece. So in a second, I'm going to change the camera so that you can see what my body looks like, so that you can see the different view. I'll do that now. So if I'm taking a break, I can take a break like that. Sometimes that'll break, but if it doesn't, if it does, it does. And let's change so that you can see my whole body. So again, keep a watch on my plant, non-dominant hand. I'm getting ready to go around a corner again. And so you can see I'm pretty low. My sternum is really close to central to the bench pin, and so my chair is down. That's why these desks are really high. And then I'm trying to stay straight up and down and keep my handle of my saw below me, and so I'm keeping the frame as straight up and down as I can. Again, I'm staying to the right side of my design so that that kerf doesn't bite into my design at all. And I use the whole bench pin. So there you saw me move my chair. And that's so I have a lot more metal pushed down on the bench pin. And again, I'm moving my chair often so that I can put all of that metal on the diagonal of my bench pin, just to hold it down nice and steady. And this is a great sample piece that Emily gave me, because it forces you to turn so many corners, so it really teaches you how to saw. I can kind of hear it, but I can also feel that I need some more lubrication. So I also have burr life sitting here, so sometimes I'll just strop my design like that as well. Keep going. We'll do one final view here so that you can really see my plant hand getting out of the way. So again, I'm coming straight at the camera, making sure that I'm not having my finger like this. That's the key. And there you can see that I've rounded that hole. armrest. Nice and slow, use the whole blade, up and down, up and down. Tell your right hand to loosen the grip, tell your left hand to work a lot harder. Or dominant and non-dominant. There's a lot of lefties that are metalsmiths, so make sure that I'm always reminded of that. So, go straight. Again, straight up and down. Turn. And again, you could do that kind of scroll saw technique where you cut out of the material and come back in on it. But I do like having a lot of material to hold on to. And when it starts flopping around, that's whenever I start moving my piece. So if the saw blade breaks, I'm breaking into the wood, not cutting my finger. Getting ready to round a corner again. Really rounding a corner again. Go ahead and get some burr life. This is a really long cut coming. I think I'll go ahead and cut all the way outside of my piece when I get to the end of this. Take your time. I'm reminding myself to take my time. And you can see that paper's just popping up a little bit, which is fine. Go ahead and keep this connected. I think I will. Or actually, here's a good exit point. Just kind of turn the corner. Exit. That gets me where I can get rid of all this material so it's not flopping around as bad. And then I'm going to actually approach this from a different way, so that I can kind of get into this corner and get this knocked out. So again, I started into the piece, going to the outside. You can attack this any way you want. This is just kind of the strategy that you would use with woodworking. Just remember, straight up and down, straight up and down, nice and easy. And then when it's getting ready to go out, there it goes. It just dropped into my dustbin. Little nick there that I'm going to clean up with a file later. And I think I'll go ahead and go this way. Turn the corner. You can see that I'm kind of in a susceptible spot there finger-wise. So I'm getting really close to the wood of my bench pen so that I don't accidentally get my finger. Turn a corner here. Straight up and down. I haven't broken a blade yet, but you would just take it out of both of them, store it on your desk, throw that away, and just load another blade. And again, just kind of enter into your design any way that you want to. You can ride it back along the edge that you've already cut, or you can just cut into a new space like I've done a couple of times here. So I'm getting down to like having kind of a weird area for holding, and I'm getting closer to knocking out of the end of this, so I'm just getting it where I'm able to hold it all down really well. I'm going to release my blade. And so I usually slow down at the end so I can get like a nice little edge that I don't have to file. Okay, that's looking great.